Hello everybody, so today I'm going to be telling you all about the books that I read in the month of October. I had a really good reading month in October. I don't know what happened because I am like a slower reader anyway, but normally I'll get like maybe 4 to 6 books read in a month, but this month I think I read like 13 books altogether, which is wild. So I'm going to go through all of them with you now. Okay, so the first books that I wanted to read, I did a vlog about it. Basically, I just wanted to finish these books because I'd been reading them for a few months at that point. That's not to say I didn't enjoy them. I just wanted to take my time with them a little bit more. And so the first one is Ironheart by Nina Varela. This is book 2 in the Cry's War duology. I really love this one. I think I gave this one like 4 or 4.5 out of 5 stars. Basically, this is a sapphic kind of enemies to lovers slow burn romance, and this is very angsty, very slow burn, but I loved every second. The world building was really good. It's basically between a human and a automaton. I think this is like one of the more popular fantasy sci-fi like sapphic books, but I honestly thought the hype was worth it. It is a little bit slow, so if you don't like slow burn romances or slow kind of paced books sometimes, probably not for you. But honestly, overall, I absolutely loved it. I had so much fun and I loved both of the characters so much. The next book that I ended up finishing during that vlog was Clara and the Sun by Kazuo Ishiguro, and I thoroughly enjoyed this one. I gave this one 4 out of 5 stars. I've never read anything like this because I don't really read any literary fiction. This is basically my first one. This follows a AI or an artificial friend named Clara, and she ends up getting adopted by this family, and it basically just follows her perspective on humanity, and she's learning everything for the first time. So the perspective that we get on humanity and all of our emotions is really interesting and really intriguing to read about. It took me a little bit of trouble to get through maybe the first like 100 or so pages, but after that it really started to pick up. There's like a dark twist in here as well, which I wasn't expecting like at all, but honestly it was really good. And yeah, overall I loved it. I love this book. Next up, I have Saga Volume 4 by Fiona Staples and Brian K. Vaughan. This was a reread for me. I've just been like rereading the volumes of Saga that I have read already because it's been a few years. It's basically about a boy and a girl, so Lana and Marco, who get together, they have a baby, and they're enemies. They're from like warring planets, and then they end up on the run. So obviously this is volume 4, so I'm not gonna go into too much detail. Next up, I have Horrified by Katrina Leno. This is my first ever Katrina Leno book. I think she has written like a bunch of contemporary books in the past, but this is like her first kind of like horror kind of novel, and oh my god, I loved it. It's essentially like a haunted house novel. I had so much fun reading about it. I really loved the main character. The ending was so like weird and creepy, and the whole like vibes throughout this book in general, I wouldn't call it like scary, but it was definitely creepy. I really enjoyed my time reading this. I think I gave this one, I want to say like 4 out of 5 stars. Like, I thoroughly enjoyed it, but it's not like a 5 out of 5 star read for me, but yeah, definitely recommend. This next book, I really just like wanted a quick audiobook for the day because I didn't have a lot of time, and I wanted something like under the 4-hour mark, and I hadn't like read it yet, and I actually ended up like reading the book alongside the audiobook because of all of the pretty pictures. But that is The Lives of Saints by Leigh Bardugo. This is like a short story collection of like fairy tales from the Grishaverse, and they're just really whimsical. I mean, I think I gave it like 3 out of 5 stars, but I mean, that's just kind of the tendency of short stories for me most of the time. It's about all of the saints in the Grishaverse and their folklore, and it's got really stunning like drawings and whatnot. Like, it's so pretty. like this book in general. And then the next book I read was another one that I wasn't planning on picking up like anytime soon at all, but I really felt like re-listening to the audiobook, and it was just kind of like a random pickup, and I loved it. I loved listening to this again. I hadn't read it since I first read it like a few years ago. That book is Daisy Jones and the Six by Taylor Jenkins Reid. I wasn't going to reread this until I had like finished her backlog and like go in order from her backlog, but I really felt like listening to this, and I cried at the end again, and I just loved it so much. This is about a band who was really popular in the 1970s, and then they had like their world tour and then ended up breaking up, and it delves into all of the reasons why, and from all of the different characters. There are so many characters in here, but the audiobook is phenomenal. Like, it's so well done. It's like got a full cast, all of the voices are really distinct, and it just adds like another layer. It's like listening to like a music documentary. My favorite Taylor Jenkins Reid novel is Evelyn Hugo, so it's like not up there for me, but like I still love Daisy Jones so much. Next up, I ended up reading The Wiki King by Holly Black. I have just started reading this series for the first time like a couple of months ago, and this was my first time reading The Wiki King, and oh my god, I'm literally obsessed. Like, this whole series I know gets so much hype, right? Like, everyone's read it, it's all over TikTok, it's been all over BookTube for years, all over like the book community in general since it came out, and I've just never picked it up, and I don't know why. The Wiki King was just so good. I loved it even more. I don't know if I loved it more than like the first one, but like I still really loved it, and I love getting to know like Jude Carden more, because I didn't quite get it in the first book, but this book I got it. The next book that I ended up reading, well, not the next book, I read it a few books ago, but this is the order of my pile. I ended up reading Shuva by Junji Ito. This is a short story collection from him. I really love this. My favorite one I think was Hanging Blimp, and I really liked Marinette Mansion as well. And then my least favorite was a short story called Greased. It was just really gross. I hated it. But yes, I thoroughly enjoyed this. This one is really cool as well, because I also read Smashed by Junji Ito, which I thoroughly enjoyed as well. But with this one here, like, I don't know what the difference is, but with Shuva, it has like his original sketches from like all of his like stories and whatnot. I don't know if you can like see that. Yeah, and then at the end of each story as well, it has the author commentary, so basically how he comes up with the story, and it's just really fascinating to read, and I wish that was like in all of his short story works. So yeah, read Shuva, and then I read Smashed later for the Vampathon. Won't go into detail, it's basically the same as this. It's a Junji Ito short story collection. I love his work. I'm obsessed with him now. The rest of the books that I read are also books that I read during the Vampathon, which was hosted by a few booktubers. The next book I read was Lemon by Kwon Yeo-sun, and this is like a really short like murder mystery about a girl who's trying to figure out what happened to her sister like 17 years prior, because she hadn't got any answers. It follows the perspectives of like a few different people, and at first it was a little bit confusing, I'm not gonna lie. There's not a lot of like obvious differences between each of the character voices, but overall I really liked it. I think I gave it like 3 out of 5 stars. It was still good to read and really interesting, and I really liked the second half of this in particular. The next book that I have to show you is probably one of my new favorite books of all time, and if you've seen my vlog for it, you'll know, but I can't. This has been on my radar since Books and Lala talked about it in like 2019, and I was like curious, and then I just never picked it up, and then I decided to pick it up and finally read it like this month, and I'm so glad I did, because it just took over my entire life, and I'm still like obsessed with it like now. Like, I'm already planning my next reread. That is Bunny by Mona Awad. This book is so good. Holy shit, it is incredible. It's about a girl named Samantha who is in a graduate writing school, and there is a group of girls called the Bunnies, or they call themselves the Bunnies. Samantha and the Bunnies hate each other, but Samantha ends up getting invited to one of their workshops or get-togethers, and she kind of just ends up in their world. I don't want to go into like anything else, but this is like exactly my kind of book. I fucking love this. It is a little bit gory in some parts, and there are some trigger warnings which I will try and find and leave below, but I love this book so much. It's like easily one of my new favorites. That like I haven't felt this way about a book since I read Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo, and that is one of my favorite books of all time as well. And I love this book so much. I'll leave all of like my kind of real-time responses in the vlog down below, but oh, I love it. I loved it. I really want to reread this again soon because honestly, easily one of my new favorite novels. Can't get over it. Easily 5 out of 5 stars. Loved it. And the final book that I read for the Vampathon / October was Kingdom of the Cursed by Kerri Maniscalco. This is book 2 in the Kingdom of the Wicked series, and it follows like Wrath and Amelia's relationship a little bit more. Basically, this series is about Amelia, whose sister ends up dying, and she wants to get revenge. Oh, also Emily's a witch, by the way. Sorry, I'm all over the place today. And she ends up making a deal with a demon named Wrath, who is a prince of hell, and it goes from there. I am very, very addicted to this series. I don't know what book of this I liked more. This one had things that I really preferred reading about, but also it was a little bit cringe. Like, the cringe writing in the first book didn't seem as obvious as it was in this book, but also that was like my only main complaint. Like, apart from that, I loved it. I loved the characters. I really loved like where things ended up going here, and I'm so excited for the next book, but I have to wait so long for it. And yeah, thoroughly enjoyed it. It's just like a fun like YA fantasy, and it's just a good time. I really liked it. So they are all of the books that I ended up reading in the month of October. I'm really, really happy with what I read. I feel like I read so many books, and I feel like so many of those books were like high rated books as well, and I'm just really happy with my reading last month. And yes, and also I have a new favorite book. Like, I can't believe it. I'm so happy. Make sure you like this video and subscribe if you want to, and if you enjoyed it, and if you want to see more content from me. Let me know down in the comments below what books you read in the month of October, or whether you've read any of these as well. I'll leave my socials down in the description below if you want to go check me out on Book Twitter or Twitch or Bookstagram. And I hope you have a good day or night, and I'll see you all next time.